Can you believe that the penultimate episode of Yellowjackets Season 3 is already upon us? I most definitely can't, because it feels like it's absolutely flown by. Especially considering it's only really been in the past 3 episodes where the show has given us the exact thing that we tune in for, and some of the best episodes that the show has ever made. With Hillary Swank's character being introduced to us as adult Melissa in the most recent episode, and Shauna absolutely losing her mind and channeling the very reason why we don't like her in the wilderness timeline. The next episode looks like it's gonna be eventful. With it taking days and days for a trailer to appear, but it finally seeming like one's been released, I'll also be breaking down the key points from what could be on the horizon in the next episode based on that. So let's get into it. Here is Yellowjackets Season 3 Episode 9 Trailer and Theories Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The Episode 9 Preview Breakdown. So the trailer opened up at the moment where we left the previous episode, and it was in the present day timeline where Shauna was on top of Melissa still, covered in blood, and she was holding her skin. Melissa said the line, "Could you do this?" and Shauna responded by saying, "It should be obvious by now." I think this could be leaning into 2 different things. The first is that in the previous episode, Shauna mentioned that she'd looked to reveal to Alex, Melissa's now wife and the daughter of Hannah, the person that the girls murdered in the wilderness, that she'd reveal who Melissa actually was and that she was responsible for her mother's death. So it could be Melissa questioning if Shauna would actually be willing to do that and ruin the life that she'd managed to set up. Which I think she definitely would, because Shauna is an extremely selfish person. Or in this instance, Shauna could threaten to kill Melissa, and she could be asking if she'd actually do that, which we know she also would as well. But based on the interaction, I'm predicting it's gonna be the first one. The next part of the trailer was then in the wilderness timeline, and it looked like Nat confronted Shauna about her saying that nobody was allowed to leave the wilderness. Nat said, "You don't get to tell everybody what to do, Shauna." And Shauna responded by saying, "Well, I already did, and they're gonna do it." This shows that Shauna is not going to be budging with her mindset of wanting to stay in the wilderness, and she's going to be siding with Lottie and Tai in this instance. Many of the group have looked to Shauna in recent times, but I would be surprised if the group just willingly stayed and didn't try to leave. This is the first chance that they've had at true freedom since they were stranded, so I think division is most likely going to be formed if Shauna tries to prevent the group from leaving. Later on in the trailer, it looked like she had a gun, so somehow she's going to find a way of getting it off of Nat. They were standing extremely close to one another in the preview trailer, so maybe she managed to grab it off of her when she least expected it. In that scene in the trailer where Shauna was brandishing the gun, I think Shauna is actually going to kill Kodi. We know that Kodi never made it back out of the wilderness, just like Hannah and Edwin, and Kodi knows the way back and that it's a 6-day hike from there. If Shauna kills Kodi, then that means that the girls will have to stay there, and every chance that they had of being rescued would be diminished because there'd be nobody with the knowledge of navigating that was there, as Hannah doesn't know it. So I think Shauna will get what she wants and gain power by killing Kodi, but that could be the very thing that causes even more division in the group. And I think it could be the catalyst for Melissa turning against her slightly, as this would make Shauna genuinely look insane. If she wanted to stay there, she could have done, but this act would mean that she'd be sentencing the rest of the group to death, as they'd need to face another winter, but this time without any cabin. After this, we then saw a clip from the present day, and it seemed like Melissa was running down a road after escaping her house covered in blood, as if she'd actually just been run off the road, and Shauna was then chasing after her in her car. Melissa said the line, "It could end now. You and I both know what comes next." I think this is Melissa pleading with Shauna and telling her that she could let go of the past if she truly wanted to, just like what she did. But Shauna will be unwilling to do so, with her also saying, "You and I both know what comes next." Maybe that means that Melissa is aware of the fact that Shauna is going to try and kill her. Melissa saw the darkest side to Shauna when they were both in the wilderness. Think she was with her when they both cut Ben's feet so he couldn't move, showing an evil side to her mind. Plus, she would have witnessed Shauna essentially holding the group hostage and most likely killing Kodi at point-blank range, so she'll know the direction that Shauna can take situations to. As well as these 2 important scenes, there were a quick succession of shots that appeared. One was of Tai holding her axe and showing it to who I'm going to presume is Van due to the jumper that she was wearing. Maybe she's been tasked with cutting up Kodi, or simply chopping up wood so they've got enough for the fire that evening. Or, in fact, I wonder if she's chopping the branches and carving the edges into spikes so that they can put them in the infamous pit. Plus, there was also a shot of Van in the present day timeline where it was all dark around her. I think this could be insinuating that the end for Van is in sight, and that she could potentially succumb to her illness. We know that evil Tai is at the wheel of Tai, and she's going to be looking to go on some kind of killing spree in order to save Van, because the original Tai couldn't bring herself to do it. But I don't think it's going to end up working, and Van could end up dying. Then there was the final shot in the trailer, which was of Travis looking down upon the pit that had all of the spikes in, showing that it was now ready. This was the first thing that was ever shown to us in Season 1, Episode 1 of the show, and the pit girl was running away and she ended up falling into it. So one of the most important things in the show has now been created. I think this is insinuating that the pit has been formed and that the first scene in the show could well be on the horizon soon. When we first saw the scene, it occurred during winter, so I don't think we'll be seeing it in this season. I think we'll see that scene taking place in Season 4 of the show. With Hannah being a character that was recently introduced to us and there being a focus placed on her, I think she could well end up being the pit girl. I think that also means that we'll likely see Hannah sticking around until Season 4 of the show. It was said how Melissa and Jen got close to her whilst in the wilderness, so that means we'll need to spend time with them and watch that relationship developing. Plus, with the infamous scene taking place in winter, we know that that season is just around the corner in the show, as it was mentioned, but the changing of the seasons isn't there just yet. So I think that will be a Season 4 storyline. But what this does mean is that the foundations have been laid down due to the pit being found. Then from there, the trailer came to an end. Alternative theories for the episode. When it comes to other theories about what could potentially happen, I think we're going to see the case over who killed Lottie getting a focus again. With Callie and Jeff starting to become suspicious that it could potentially be Shauna, and them also growing suspicious of Shauna due to her previous actions that they heard on the recording and the research that Callie did on the missing explorers and guide. With Shauna potentially returning to the hotel covered in blood, that will seal their opinion of her for sure. With the way that the story's going, I think Shauna might end up telling Jeff and Callie about what happened with Hannah and the recording. Especially now that she knows that Melissa is out there, and whilst it might calm their suspicions, I think it will still drive a deeper wedge between the family. When it comes to who killed Lottie, I think evil Tai is definitely an option, Shauna is an option, and Callie could also be an option too. They've all got their motives, and we know for a fact that all but one were in New York on the day that it happened, so I'm hoping we'll find more evidence in the next episode. Shauna does feel like the obvious choice, but I reckon maybe Shauna confronted Lottie about being close with her daughter and how she shouldn't have given her the necklace, which could have resulted in a bit of a fight. Hence why her DNA was under her fingernails. I think we'll start to see Shauna slowly losing her mind even more, and the paranoid state that she had will take a greater hold over her mind. There have been clear answers to all of the issues that she had which could prove that nobody was after her, such as the brakes on her car failing, the phone in the bathroom maybe being there by mistake, and even the freezer door being locked when it shut. Shauna is quite literally having visions of her dead best friend from her childhood, so she's definitely losing her mind. So I think we'll find out that nobody has actually been tormenting Shauna, and that it's actually just been her being paranoid. There are so many different directions that the next episode of Yellowjackets could go in, and I definitely think that before the end of the season we'll have at least one more death, maybe even two. So I'm intrigued to see who's going to face the chopping block. With us only just being introduced to Hillary Swank's Melissa, I do hope that we get to see more of her, but because she is so separate from the rest of the characters, I do fear that Shauna might just end her for good. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when the show returns on Friday. So, there you have it, Yellowjackets Season 3 Episode 9 Trailer and Theories Explained. If you want to see every episode of Yellowjackets Season 3 being broken down, then click on the card in the top corner, there'll be a playlist there. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What do you think will happen next? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.